Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. What's going on, everybody? Make it all set up. Inshallah. Eid Mubarak to everybody who is celebrating Eid. Alhamdulillah. Uh-oh. Okay. We got a good one today. Make sure y'all like, share, and subscribe. Support your young African American scholarship. Can't press that enough. Like I always keep telling y'all, we are very few in number. And I'm not a scholar, I'm one who studies. What's going on, everybody? Got my gas. This is real gas before the young folks came and took over and start calling other stuff gas. But we got a good one today. So alaikum warahmatullah. Drop me a heart, drop me a like. Don't be no hater. Assalamu alaikum, Sister Malika. Imam Abu Muhammad. Assalamu alaikum. Just drop a comment. Let's build our own algorithm. Let's be in control of our own show. I can't stress that enough, especially when you see young African American brothers out here doing it and trying their best. I could be doing some old foolishness right now, and y'all know that. So don't be a hater. Support the brethrens. Definitely shout out to all the brothers that give dawah and teach daruses. Shout out to everybody. We lit tonight. We got a real good one tonight. So the topic, inshallah ta'ala, just get myself situated. Inshallah. Like, share, subscribe. Don't be a hater. We on here going live. We ain't on here trash panda. If you from the South, you know what a trash panda is. We ain't rat unen. We ain't trash panda in. We on here dropping knowledge. We dropping hawk and we dropping knowledge, baby. So be a supporter of that. And if you don't support young brothers and sisters talking about God, doing the dhikr, the remembrance of God and Allah and His Prophet and His prophets, and you got problems, Jack. But inshallah ta'ala, we're going to talk about the proof for the existence of God, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the hottest topic ever. My kufis is always crooked, man. I don't know why my kufis always crooked. Whatever. But anyway, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا من سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلله فلا هادي له أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله أما بعد. So first, is the sister Nabila, is she here? Assalamu alaikum, everybody. Wahida Conquest. Assalamu alaikum, sister. Sister Rahmisha Azia. Assalamu alaikum. Y'all like, share, subscribe. Drop me a assalamu alaikum or something. See, I didn't say it. Abu Muhammad know what's going on. We not being no trash pandas on here. Like the good brother said, all this knowledge on the internet and you out here being a trash panda. I ain't trying to get shadow banned. They already be blocking these types of conversations. Since I'm not on here twerking or nothing, then I can't get 1,000 views and 1,000 of my folks to to look at this. We could talk about Lil Boosie getting locked up and Quando Rondo getting locked up and shooting people and all. We could talk about that all day, and them dudes get 43,000 views in 2 hours. But as soon as we start talking about Allah and His Messenger, Abu Muhammad know what I'm talking about. They've been giving dawah for a long time, for years, so he know what it is. But let's get it popping. Let's get it popping. Is the Sister Nabila here? I don't think Sister Nabila is here yet, so I might save her part for Assalamu Alaikum, big fella, Aziz Aiken, South Carolina in the house, Charleston. That's how y'all say it down there in Charleston, South Carolina, Charleston. All right, enough playing around. Let's get busy. Abu Ubaidullah, what's going on, Aki? Yeah, so let's dive on in here, man. Let's dive on in here. Oops. Let's dive in here. We're gonna be talking about the existence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala been proven. Now, I must give a disclaimer. Nobody but the Muslims came up with this. He said, I'm a Geechee boy. Folks don't know what that is either. But as soon as I see Sister Nabila in here, we're going to get with her. We stopped on, I wanted to give some due. She asked for, I wanted to give it some proper time. She had asked a very legitimate question when we were here last week, when she was, and she asked about the proof behind the both viewpoints of faith fluctuating and faith not fluctuating. So, I dug out some stuff and I wanted to find the proof. I didn't want to shoot from the hip. I know what my stance and position is, but I wanted to be able to give her and give the people, a proper understanding and explanation. Sorry, I get my allergies. My eyes are blurring up on me. So inshallah ta'ala, if she tune in, we'll jump on it, or we'll just recourse back to it, because I'm pretty sure other people wanted to know as well. My eyes tripping right now. Can't even see. Yallah. Red and everything. Okay, so jumping straight into the Sanusi, we finished the 13 attributes that you must affirm in order for you to be a true believer. We already did that. If you didn't catch it, go back to the top of the page if you're on Facebook and search. Go at the beginning in the featured. You see all the videos are pinned up there, and go back to this same series. It was part 3. So we're gonna do the reverse, and we just gonna kind of, Sister Malika, Assalamu Alaikum. We're gonna do the reverse. Our scholar, Hujjatuddin Imam Sanusi, rahimahumullah, laid these things out for us plain and clear. So we're gonna dive all the way into picking up from right there. So with you asserting that those 13 attributes, that's mandatory. You must agree on that, or you don't have any concept of God, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Same too, you must confirm 13 things that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not. If I can find it. And I'm just going to kind of run through them because it's pretty simple. It's pretty simple. We did a soft explanation of those 13. Assalamu alaikum, Isa Abdullah. We did a soft explanation of the 13 things that you must confirm. I think it was pretty understandable, pretty clear. If it wasn't, drop the questions at the end of the dados, inshallah ta'ala. But I always try to go back through the comments anyway. At the end, I try to leave time for it. So you must confirm that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the 13 things about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala are impossible, meaning if you believe that these 13 things are a possibility, then you do not believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You don't yet have belief, and you cannot be a believer. I don't care who you are, Muslim, Christian, Jew, Zoroastrian, Buddhist. If you don't affirm these 13 things, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not these 13 things, then you are not a believer. I don't care how many times you believe Jesus died on the cross for you. You can believe he did it 40 million times. If you don't believe this about the Almighty Creator, then you are not a believer. Diving straight in. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. The attributes that are impossible for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to be attributed with, and those that are possible. Among the attributes that are impossible to be true of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala are 20 that are the opposites of the 20 mentioned above, including number 1, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala cannot be non-existent. That goes without saying. I hope I don't have to spend any time explaining that. Number 2, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala cannot be an event, that is having a beginning. Number 3, having an end. Now, I'm just running through these. I'm stating these for the record. I don't think we need to go into it. Number 4, similarity to any events. That is, all the things that have a beginning or traits of such things. For example, being a body or something with a bulk. Just sidebarring right there. A lot of people, there's a group of people out there, and I'm tired of making them famous, but they always say Allah has a hand, but not like our hand. Allah has a face, but not like our face. Allah has a shin, but not like our shin. These are statements of disbelief. These are statements of kufr. One group of scholars say that it is actual kufr and they need to repent, and another group of scholars say that it is an act of kufr and they still need to repent, but they don't leave Islam by doing so. Wherever you want to go with it. Either way is a horrid situation that you don't want to be in. So Allah does not have a face. He does not have a hand. He's not a he. And I explained that before. I forgot I got to send this to my guy. We got a new shahada. Okay, if I can find out how to do it. Still learning how to work this nose phone I just got. Let me try to tag the good brother. All right. Okay, so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is nothing like anything that we can ever imagine. So no similarities, nothing kind of like it, none of that. He does not have a space. He does not occupy a space. He does not occupy a place, nor should I say, does he reside in any direction. I don't care what direction you put it in. Allah Ta'ala is not up, sideways, frontwards, or most certainly not downwards. Quick sidebar, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created space. He don't fit in it. There's nothing for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to fit. He doesn't have a fitting. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not his creation. If he was his creation, he would not be the creator, which we're getting ready to get all the way in. Assalamu alaikum, Sister Shanda. Haya, it's a good name. So Allah Ta'ala is impossible and inconceivable and illogical that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will have any similarities to anything that exists. Okay, sorry, y'all. Had to get the baby. Uh-oh. Okay, going forward. an attribute that require an example by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala not having similarity is an attribute that requires a body or bulk in a direction in relation to a body or having direction himself. Allah ta'ala is not bound by time, space, or place. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not described by any events or by any smallness, bigness, tall, fat, skinny, none of that. Allah ta'ala has none of those traits. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not driven to take care of the beneficial or to prevent harm in his actions and rulings. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has no needs to fulfill and is not influenced by anything, since he does not have a beginning. So just to understand that, a lot of people don't. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has will. He does whatever he wants, whenever he wants, to whoever he wants. And it is not from faith that we challenge this. If your grandmother died or your son gets hit by a car and dies, all these tragedies, our responsibility is just to see this as a test. That's it. That's our responsibility. A test for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for you to believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and to have tawakkul with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Not to question Allah. And this is a common thing. A lot of people will say, why me? And why did this happen to me? Or people just live their lives rebelliously because they feel like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has been unfair to them or their life is unfair. This whole entire life is fitna. This whole entire life is a test. So the only thing that should be your concern is that you pass the tests. Easier said than done, but this is the game plan. Why am I saying this? Because Allah subhanahu, it says in the Quran that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does whatever he wills. So the explanation to all these natural disasters, from rape all the way up to tornadoes and earthquakes and everything in between that we do not understand and that we cannot explain, we leave Allah's business to Allah. That's Allah's business. That's not our business why these catastrophic things happen to us. And I'm not pointing the finger. I lost a third of my life in prison. I grew up in the circumstances that plant and breed prisoners. I'm not asking why, none of that. I'm taking, Assalamu alaikum, Sister Tasha. I'm taking the blessings out of all of those lessons. Big it. It's like, no, that was just corny. But no, real talk. Allah Ta'ala does whatever he wants. He does not have a motivation like humans do. And a lot of people make this mistake. Why would Allah do this? Why would Allah do that? Like my great late Sheikh used to say, mind your business. That's the business of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Your business is simple. Be a slave to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's it. Be a slave. And in every instance, sincerely exalt all of your efforts to remain a slave. You got to go against yourself. I always tell people my favorite ayat. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Tu'minu billahi wa rasulihi wa tujahiduna fi sabilillah. Believe in Allah and his messenger and struggle and strive for the sake of Allah. And we all know that the Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam said that the greatest struggle and the greatest war that you will ever fight is a war with yourself. First and foremost. So in sincerity, if you're a sincere believer, then you're not gonna question Allah. You're just gonna look at what's going on, and you make a dua. And I get overwhelmed all the time, and I've developed a habit to make dua. And this is coming from a rehabilitated individual. I want to share this personally with y'all. I'm known to be a reactive person. If somebody do something to me, I'm punch them in their face. Somebody do something to them, I'm gonna shoot them. That's coming from that type of person. So I've been out of prison. I haven't committed any crimes. I've been safe. Alhamdulillah, built a life. This is not because I learned my lesson because I went to prison. It's not. I didn't care nothing about prison. It was nothing about prison scared me or none of that. My mentality changed. And when I became overwhelmed and tested, I make dua. Do I fail? Yes, I fail. But I understand the game plan. I know when I need to get back on my square. I know when I need to get back on my deen. I have the playbook. The Quran and the Sunnah is the playbook. And I stick to it, and I don't let nobody trick me otherwise. So I just had to break that down a little bit because that is a big problem. People make the excuse to not serve Allah because the circumstances in their life is quote unquote unfair to them. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not submit to fairness. He's not your slave. You are his slave. Going forward. And it doesn't mean that Allah is unjust. We have to say that too. Because these things happen, even though these catastrophes happen, we don't understand them. But we know that one of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's qualities is that he is adl. He is just. He is just. He is the essence of justice. So even though your finite mind doesn't understand it, that doesn't mean that it's not just. You just don't understand the justice behind it. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does. You don't. Going forward. This concept of non-resemblance can be summarized by saying that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not attributed with quantity, size, weight, and volume, quality, color, taste, smell, or relativity, sequence, family, shape, composition, time, place, position, or direction. Fifth, it is impossible that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala should not be self-existent by being an attribute of something or in need of someone to specify his attributes. 6, it is also impossible that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala be one by himself, being composed into parts, by there being someone resembling him in his self or attributes, or there being beside him something with an independent influence on any event. I think all this is self-explanatory except for the first statement that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not broken up into parts. We have to understand this concept because the Christians, people like the Christians and people like the pantheists and so forth. These belief systems are out there. And it may sound simple, and you might say, well, hold on, Allah doesn't belong to parts. Allah's not a part. What are you talking about? Well, they say the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit. They've even tried to explain and say that Allah is like an egg, a'udhu billah, and the shell is Allah, and the yolk is Jesus, and the whatever, like the fluid or whatever, is the Holy Spirit. They say it's all one, but it's composed of 3 parts. This is complete and total disbelief. Complete and total disbelief in the creator of all that exists. Why? Because if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is broken up into parts or pieces, that would mean that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is dependent on those other parts and pieces for his existence. Khalas. So if you take the yolk out, then this Holy Trinity thing doesn't exist. If you bust the shell and there's no more shell and you take the fluid out, I don't know what the fluid's called. Somebody put it in the chat. Take the fluid out and you take the yolk out, you don't have this Holy Trinity composition. You can't have that composite. You can't have that belief system when one of those 3 things are missing. And same difference with the pantheists and the pagans. They believe that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is like this, the boss God, and then the thunder God and the wind God. And just like the statement was said at the end, The last statement, that anything would act with divinity on its own without Allah's, giving it permission. That's illogical. This is how we know that Islam is the true belief system, because all these concepts are illogical. They don't fit to the human brain. Why doesn't it make sense that there could be some other gods up under the God, like like these pagan religions believe? I've always used the example. What if the sun god and the moon god have a disagreement, and the sun god says, "Hey, I want to work the night shift," and then the sun and the moon god says, I don't want to work. I don't want you to work the night shift. I want to stay on the night shift." Who's going to be the decider? Do you think that Allah comes in and says, "Okay, you do this and you do this and you do that," and then the sun god says, forget y'all. I'm gonna do whatever I want to do. I'm gonna go and work the night shift, and it's gonna be sunny at 10 o'clock at night. What y'all gonna do? What if that was the truth? Then that means that there would have been a war between Allah, the sun god, and the moon god a long time ago, and then the world wouldn't even exist. So it's illogical. Going forward, 7. It is also impossible that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala should be unable to bring into existence any event which has the possibility of existence, or to give existence to anything which he had not willed for out of negligence, inattention, illness, or by cause of nature. Y'all slow me down if this stuff is not, if it's not been understood. This goes kind of deep, and we're gonna go deeper when we get to the part that's coming up real quick on the proof of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in like 2 minutes. It is also impossible that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala should be characterized by ignorance or lack of knowledge of any matter. It is further impossible that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala should be characterized by deafness, blindness, or lack of speech, or that his speech would consist of letters, sounds, language, or being something sequential. This is a debate. It's not a debate, but it has been a debate, and it has been a controversy. And some people believe, otherwise. But it would be anthropomorphic if we believe that Allah's subhanahu wa ta'ala's speech is like ours. My speech is dependent on my lips, my tongue, my mouth, the saliva. I'm dependent on all of that. My voice box, my vocal cords, my throat. If I don't have the combination of all these things, I won't be able to speak. It is illogical to attribute that to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If something happens to Allah, quote unquote, subhanahu wa ta'ala, he gets sick and he loses his vocal cord, you don't get any revelation. Now, what kind of God is that to worship? So it's illogical to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does speak and has speech, not like ours. It cannot be understood, but we do know and we do confirm that he does have speech, but it does not have a sound. It is not letters. It is not a voice box, a tongue, cheeks, lips, none of these things that are that are like us. Closing, the opposites of the attributes pertaining to the meanings are obvious from the above. As for the possible, that which may be true of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is doing it. It is doing anything possible or not doing it. Okay, are y'all with me? Because we're going to the next section. Y'all with me? I don't see any questions. Nabila, assalamu alaikum. Somebody must have called you. I got the answer to your question. We didn't heat it up. So we're going to answer your question about the evidence for the debate on both sides of Iman fluctuating and not fluctuating. Okay, so going forward, now we get into the fun part. This is the best part of it all. So sidebar, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala asked us in the Quran, it challenges in the Quran, afala ta'qilun, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala asks us, do we do tadabbur of the Quran? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala asks us plenty of times, afala tadhakkirun, do you not do the remembrance? Do you not study? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala advised us in the Quran to look at the earth, the planets, the stars, the world, everything around us, our own selves, to prove his existence. Okay? So first thing, the first disclaimer that we must put out there, and I want everybody to remember this, write it down if you have to. And I don't think I'm being rude when I say that, but I got notes that I make on my phone for things that I mandatorily have to memorize and burn into my brain. I got notes all over the place from things, when I'm having these aha moments when you're studying. Remember this. Teach it to the kids and teach it to, my apologies, I tried to sneak in. I just got back home. Okay, alhamdulillah. Don't get distracted because this is recorded. You can go back to it. Take care of your business. Sister Nabila. Teach this, what I'm about to say, to your kids and to your friends and family. And it is the proper response when somebody is challenging you for being a believer. Being a believer is not dependent on scientific proof. Science changes. We might find some things that the Quran and the Sunnah mix, they're in unison with Islam, and there's a lot. There's a lot. Snowflakes and so forth. The mountains acting as pegs to hold the earth in place. This stuff is confirmed, and the Quran says it. But the standard for belief is not scientific evidence. Also, the standard for belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not if you can see Allah or if you cannot see Allah. This is the biggest excuse that non-believers have, that non-Muslims have. This is the biggest excuse. Biggest excuse. Thank you, Brother Isa. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept your dua. This is the biggest excuse. The biggest excuse that people make is that you can't see God. So why would I worship something I can't see? Why would I believe that there's a paradise if I can't see it? Why would I believe that there's a hellfire if I can't see it? This is not the standard. Somehow the devil has tricked us into believing that if you can't see it, you can't believe it. If you can't touch it, you can't take it. And that is one of the biggest dupes in history of all of mankind. With all that being said, how do we prove the existence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the creator of the universe? This is imperative to know and understand. This is the thing that you must wrestle with within yourself before you make any prayer, before you do any act or deed of worship, before you decide that you're going to move in this direction and become a believer of any sort. You got to prove the existence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to yourself first. Now, I must say that for me, at first, before I got to that point, I looked at the life of a Muslim and of Muslims, and I was like, that's peace right there. That's peace, and that's the way life is supposed to be. Life is not perfect. Muslims are not perfect, but Islam is perfect, guaranteed. If you do everything that the Quran says, you will have peace. We don't always do it. I'm not saying that. But I'm saying the test in life is we go about life with the guidance of the Quran and the Holy Prophet, alayhi salatu wassalam. A lot of times, like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, we love things that are not good for us and we hate things that are actually good for us. So we might not like the guidance of Islam because, like Allah says all throughout the Quran, we're wrestling with our own nafs, our own selves, our own desires. We're wrestling with that. I want to do this. Well, Allah said do that. Right? I want to drink alcohol. Allah said don't drink alcohol. It's peace. It's guidance. You might not like that, but if you do it, you're going to be guaranteed peace. Don't nothing good come behind drinking alcohol. Nothing. Zero. They say a glass of wine a day keeps the doctor away, but it don't keep the county sheriff away. They tricking folks, and y'all better not get played. They tricking folks each and every time you see something on the internet. It be some drunk foolishness. Why do you think people don't drink when they at work? Why do you think it's illegal to drink and drive? Why do you think this whole concept of designated driver exists? Nothing good comes out of this stuff. So Allah didn't tell us not to do anything that's not good for us. It's good for us. You may like it. I like it. I ain't holier than thou. I like being drunk and silly and foolishness and careless and having no inhibition and being in that world of freedom for that moment that you had. I had fun doing that stuff just like everybody else did. Smoking weed. I had fun. I had a whole bunch of fun. That was it. It was just fun. It didn't help me cope with or deal with none of the realities of life. And as soon as I gave it all up, it was a non-factor. Never catch me on camera acting no drunken fool and so high that I can't. I'm always, what y'all say, man, and moving all slow. None of that. I ain't got none of them problems. I done had brothers that I done hired that didn't stop smoking. And they way prettier than me. They taller than me. They stronger than me, but they smoke. And they can't stop smoking. And when we go working, I do landscaping for if anybody don't know. I do landscaping. I'm out here 90 degrees, slinging that weed whacker, taking trees, throwing them in the truck. And I go from there. When we finish one job, they be bent over the truck. Man, I need some water. I'm gonna die. No, I'm like, we got 5 more of these we got to do, Jack. We got 5 more of them. You ain't got time for no water. I stop to drink water when I feel like my throat is finna lock up. My lungs good. I ain't got this as a problem. It doesn't distract me. It doesn't hold me back. No, none of that. We're allowing our own desires to interfere with the goodness of our lives. And we self-medicating at the end of the day. But this ain't about that. Let's get back on track. The way, before you begin your journey as a believer, you have to convince yourself that Allah exists. Play with this, because most people have I ain't gonna say most people, but a lot of people have a false belief. They haven't proven to themselves that Allah exists. They just worn out from the streets. So you see them in the church and the masjid. The streets done ate them up, chewed them up, devoured your best years, burned your best years. And you can't be in the streets no more. You look like a fool being in the streets. And now people that's your kids' age just took over the streets. So you look like a fool been out there hanging with your kids. But this is because people have not convinced themselves, which the scholars say is mandatory. You must learn some proofs of the existence of Allah. And that's what we're getting ready to do. So with that being said, I had to give a soft introduction before we get into these concepts, because I did another video on this, but it was not as potent as I'm getting ready to get right now. It wasn't as heavy. It was just kind of more, in order for there to have creation, you have to have a creator. I did a nice video. It was probably like 2 hours long, breaking down some scientific concepts. But the the way that we're getting ready to get into some serious divine philosophical concepts that prove the metaphysical. So wrapping up that introduction, belief is not a science. You don't need science to believe in Allah, and you don't need to see Allah to believe in Allah. When I say believe, I'm saying, remember, y'all, that is the name of the game. That's the test. That's the test. You have to believe. We watch hours of motivational speeches on TikTok, Instagram, boom, 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 and all these dudes convincing you that you can do it. And you really can't, because you don't know what's in the qadr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You should only deal with what's in front of your eyes and what's in your hands. That's the qadr of Allah, what is sent to you. You can't go and get something that ain't been sent to you, or something that's not written in your qadr. You can't have it. You can't get it. Only thing that you can get is what you have, and that's what's in your hand. That's what is within reach. My great late Sheikh Ayub, rahimahumullah, he broke this down for me. Allah's qadr is what you have, and you must have shukr. You must have gratefulness for it. You must have thankfulness for that. But my point is, all day long we'll watch those reels and they produce real nice, and then people like, you can do it, and you just gotta keep pushing, and you gotta study more, and when you get tired, you gotta keep going. And they got the Sylvester Stallone music playing in the background and stuff, and you watch it, you're like, yeah, I can do it. And you've been watching these videos for like 10 years. They've been doing this stuff, or maybe like 5 years. They've been, getting mass views and sponsorships off of just saying these motivational speeches most of the time in the church. We waste a lot of time with that stuff. My point in bringing that up is we already have that capacity to believe. You have to believe that you're going to accomplish this particular goal before you accomplish that goal. If you do not, quote unquote, you will not accomplish your goal. Correct? Everybody knows this. You got to believe. You got to believe in yourself. So we throwing around this word belief, but in actuality, the word belief, your ability to have belief, iman and yaqeen, is actually an innate tool that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave you. It's innate. You were born with it. It's in your genetic DNA. To believe. You have zero excuse to say that you're not going to be a believer. And all day long, you watching these reels and posting motivational posts and stuff and Facebook, and you saying and doing motivational stuff. You going telling the kids you can grow up to be whatever you want to be. You doing all of that? Okay, well, use that same quality and that same strength in regards to the creator of the universe. That's my point. The way that we choose, the way that we can prove Allah's existence is through the science of belief. And the science of belief, it's a philosophical one. It's not a scientific one. It's not an observational one. It's a philosophical. It has a philosophical paradigm. And don't act like I'm speaking Chinese, because in our everyday life, we practice these philosophical paradigms. When I wake up, I open up my phone, I look at my schedule. Philosophically, I tell myself, I'm going to get this schedule done today. I got 18 properties. I'm going to knock them out. Most of the time, I don't. I might have 2 or 3 properties that I got to do on the next day. But I wake up with the vigor and the belief that I am going. I haven't seen it. Nobody came and showed me the end of my day. It was like, you're going to complete 13 out of 18 properties. So do it. So if that's not happening in your everyday regular life that you actively participate in, Why are you being unjust with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when it comes to believing in that goal, achieving that goal of making it to the paradise, and that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala we will be able to see Allah and be with Allah in the next life? We're not exercising those same muscles in regards to that. No problem. That is human nature. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us that, we were weak, and that the world will make us so comfortable that we're going to begin to make these compromises. But like I said in the early on, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us to fight, to struggle with our lower desires. That's our lower desires. Fight that. Struggle that. Struggle that. It's in everybody's mind. Does God exist? Does God not exist? It's in everybody's mind. But we giving ourselves excuses to be able to try to figure that out or not. And that's not going to cut it. That ain't going to cut it. We have no excuse. We got to utilize these endeavors that we're born with in respect to this most important topic, the belief of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So now we're going to get to it. Let me find my spot. Okay. With regard to the rational proof of his existence, the exalted, it is the contingency of the world. For if the world did not have an originator, and instead it originated itself, that would mean that one of two things equal to each other is preponderant over the other without any external cause, which is impossible. What does this paragraph mean? Imam Khalil, Assalamu alaikum. What does that paragraph mean? So a lot of fancy words in that paragraph, and I spent probably the last 2 years closely with a magnifying glass, but overall, about 10 years trying to understand the fancy language in that paragraph. And I literally just got the final piece to the paragraph this morning from Sheikh Ismail. he helped me bring it all full circle, inshallah ta'ala, for this video as well. So this ain't no small stuff. These are complex concepts, and our scholars are charged with it, but we are charged with learning it, but we're charged in believing what they teach. So what does this mean? In short, what is meant here is that sorry, I hit the wrong buttons on my computer. What is meant in that paragraph is that the way that mind you, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala asked us to use our aql, afala ta'qilun. Or Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sometimes says that they don't have any aql, that they don't la ta'qilun. We hear that all the time. They're not using their good sense, their good common sense that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blessed them / us with. We are not using it. That is the tool. Allah gave us the secret in the Quran. That is the tool to knowing the existence of Allah. With that being said, when we sit back and look at the world, we look at the universe, like Allah said, look at yourself and look at the world to prove Allah's existence. Look at yourself and look at the world. What is it about yourself that screams the existence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Allah said it many times in the Quran. It is him that took you from a nutfa, from just a drop of sperm, and turned you into a whole intelligent human being. You had no part in that. None whatsoever. Not even in the act of cohabitation. You had no part in that. You were just doing what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala pushed you to do. Not forced, but what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala permitted you to do. That was in your qadr. You had to do it. You ain't in control of none of this. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is making your heart beat. Allah ta'ala has created oxygen and then is throwing oxygen directly into your respiratory system. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created the nerves that go through your lungs, that control your lungs for them to function correctly. We don't have only oxygen in our lungs. We have lungs and the function of our lungs with the oxygen. The lungs ain't no good without the oxygen. We have no part in this. So when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, look at yourself, this is what he was referring to. That is miraculous. The fact that I'm able to articulate this speech, it is miraculous. I'm not throwing those neutrons around in my brain to formulate these words in a particular manner. I'm not putting the perfect amount of light in my eyeballs in order for me to see what I'm reading, to be able to say it in the video and for y'all to actually watch it. I haven't created an eyeball. No human created an eyeball. No human will they ever create an eyeball. That's what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala means when he says, look at yourself. Look at us. The human body is a miraculous piece of art by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Second, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said the same thing about the heavens, about the earth. Look at the perfection in it. Look at the order and the perfection. Allah ta'ala challenged us one time and said, look at the skies and go and find something wrong with it. Now, the simple-minded person would really go and look and say, well, maybe that's not supposed to be there and that should go over here. That ain't what Allah meant. The sky is serving its perfect purpose for you. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that this is a canopy for you, and that he sends clouds with rain so that it can come down on the earth and water your vegetation so that you can live. That is perfect order and perfection. None of this is an accident. None of this just happened. All of this is perfectly orchestrated. So going back to that paragraph, what is meant here when it says that so all of that stuff is what we call contingencies. All of this stuff out of in Arabic, these things are contingent. They're great to us. All that stuff I just mentioned that we are not grateful for on a daily basis, that we just take, and we making use of it. All of these things is just near to worship for us. We just about worship air. We worship eyesight. We worship the ability to speak. We worship the fact that our heart beats. We worship the fact that we got lungs and oxygen. We just about worship that stuff. Why do I say that? Because as soon as somebody points a gun at you, you're like, no, please. You want to keep it. You want to keep all that stuff. You're doing anything and everything to maintain all this stuff. They fighting for the ozone layer. Like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, the sky is a canopy for your own benefit. That stuff protects us from the sun rays. It's like a screen from a sun rays. We didn't know that back then, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was telling us this stuff. This is science. All this stuff that is so monumental to our existence are contingent. They are contingencies. What is contingent? What do I mean when I say this? These things are dependent. on something else for the relevance of its existence. Are y'all with me? Y'all follow me? We cooking right now. I knew y'all can see it on my face. I'm sweating. I'm lit up. This is almost like, Allah Ta'ala removing the veil. This type of knowledge, removing the veil so that we can see into the next life, using our good logic. So why is that significant? That we recognize that these things, these monumental things, are contingencies. This stuff is important because anything that is dependent must be dependent on something. That something is Allah. Why? Because at the end of the end of that paragraph, Imam Sanusi, rahimahullah, advised us two contingencies cannot rely on each other for its existence. It's impossible. It is logically impossible. Are y'all following me? Let's go to the next paragraph so we can dig this out a little bit more. The proof of the world's contingency is its inseparability from the emergent accidents. I don't want to use the word accidents. That's not our quote unquote dialect. I'm going to replace the word hadith, is hadith in Arabic, as occurrences. We don't use the word accidents or accident in that relative manner. The word in Arabic is hadath or hadith in the plural. These are occurrences, things that happen. Follow me now. Such as movement and stillness, etc. And that which is inseparable from a contingent is contingent as well. So this means the planet is dependent on space. The universe is space. The planet would not be the planet with all the things that make it a planet. Rocks, mountains, water, oxygen, all this stuff makes it a planet. So the planet itself is dependent on the hadith or the a'rad, these occurrences, these changes, these things that these attributes that define it. These things are interdependent. So with them being interdependent, even though they're miraculous to us, because we can't survive without these things, the reality is that there is logically something that's sustaining these dependent things. Are y'all with me? And for the proof of contingency of accidents is the change that is witnessed in them, such as non-existence to existence and from existence to non-existence. So what does the Sheikh mean by this? That changes. I had to talk to Sheikh Ismail to get full clarification on this so that we can deliver it properly, inshallah ta'ala. So first and foremost, we have two things, really three, 2/3 things, and relevant to this topic. I see the comments too. Inshallah ta'ala, we're gonna address them as soon as this is the last part of the presentation as well. So we're gonna get to the comments and talk about this stuff here shortly. we have to first and foremost we have to we prove that there are contingencies. First and foremost, why do we prove? How do we prove this? We say, okay, the Earth exists, the planets exist, the universe exists, I exist. We have people who will go as far as to say, "How do you know you exist? How do you know you really here? How do you know that this isn't really a dream? Because if I punch you on your face, you're gonna bleed. That's how." No philosophical answer to that. But you got people that play games like that. So we have to prove the fact that contingencies exist. Like I said, we have the Earth. We have the Earth is made up of certain attributes that make it the Earth. The Earth sits inside of the space of space, and at one point in time, the universe itself was not here. So we're proving, through our own realization that contingencies exist. The second thing is we have to prove that those contingencies came into existence, so to speak, in order for us to get to the conclusion of the belief that all of this being evidence of the belief of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now walk with me here. First, we prove that there are contingencies. Next, we have to prove the coming to existence of the contingencies. And the way that the Muslim scholars, the Muslim philosophers use the Quran and the Sunnah to prove things came into existence and have not always been in existence is the fact that they change. Sounds simple, but it ain't really that simple. It's kind of complicated. This means that if a particular substance accepts that it might be cold, it might be hot, it might be green, it might be blue, it might be tall, it might be short, it might be fat, it might be circular, it might be triangular. If a certain substance accepts these variants and these changes, this is evidence that it is dependent. It is another contingency. And we have to understand this because that is relevant to its coming to existence. Why? Because anything that is eternal does not have to change. The contingencies of change are adaptive for survival. It's living and wants to live, and it has to adapt. My skin complexion is for sun. So I'm a substance that has a change. In order for me to survive, I had to be a young kid, and I had to go to school, and I had to live hard lessons in life and grow up and learn all these things. And it took steps for me to come to the person that I am today, 39 years old. Those are changes. So why is that significant? Because that means that there's a starting point and there's an ending point and everything in between. The changes, the movements, the stillness, those are all things that are relevant to survival of our existence. If you or a particular thing has to have relevance for your existence, that means you're not eternal. You have a beginning and you have an end, an ending. Why is that significant? Why is all of that what I said led up to that statement, and that statement being evidence that Allah, evidence for the existence of Allah? is because this concept in Islam is the only religion that ever brought this concept to the planet. And Islam came with Adam. And it ended with Prophet Muhammad alayhi salam. So don't think that Islam just came and all this knowledge just came with the Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu salam almost 1600 years ago. No. This is divine knowledge that has always been here, but it's been confined in Islam. The fireworks about this is it is impossible. This concept is called tasalsul. It's called tasalsul. It's called in English, it is called infinite regression. Infinite regression. Tasalsul in Arabic. We just proved logically. I just walked us through each and every single particle of this philosophy that brought us to the point to understand I began, the world began, the planet began, the universe began, which qualifies it to not be eternal. It is not eternal. It used to not be here. And the changes that these things, that the universe and everything inside of it takes is evidence. It is philosophical, scientific evidence of its not being, of its eternality. Why is that important? Here's the home run. Please see this. Why is that important? If something used to not be here and it began, there had to be something that made all of this begin. This is evidence that we are all part of creation. And in order for there to be creation, there has to be a what? Answer that question. And somebody put in the comments, hurry up, because we run a long time. My dinner, my supper almost ready. In order for there to be creation, there has to be what? Somebody hurry up and type it. In order for there to be creation, there has to be, I knew y'all was gonna let Malika beat y'all. Y'all done let the sister get y'all again. Okay, somebody else came through. Nyla, get somewhere. You already know this stuff. It has to, Nabila, Sister Nabila. Okay, good. It has to be a creator. This is the philosophical, logical evidence that God, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala exists. You don't need to see. You don't need to go to the akhirah, to the hereafter, and then come back and be like, hey, y'all, I just saw God. We can all be good now. No, that's fake. Like this, like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, afala ta'aqilun, do you use your brains? Do you use your good sense? We just used our good sense to prove the existence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala via philosophical argument. And don't say you won't accept it. You're going to argue with your husband to try to prove something. You're going to argue with your wife to try to prove something. You're going to argue with a stranger on Facebook to try to prove something. So don't say that an argument is not legit for proving the existence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The only reason why you have the quality to argue is so that you can prove the existence of Allah. Not arguing with strangers on Facebook that I like to do. I like picking on Wahhabis. Y'all know that. Shots fired. That's not the reason why we have the ability to argue. We have the ability to argue because of this right here, what we talking about. We just argued the fact that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala exists. Khalas. Everybody be Muslim. Everybody be good Muslims. If none of that makes sense, nothing that I do or anybody that do can do to help you. Nothing. Nothing whatsoever. There used to not be a universe. There used to not be humans. There used to not be life as we know it. That stuff didn't just boom pop out of nowhere. No way, no how. Doesn't make sense. None whatsoever. If we are created, and I reiterate, the changes that we go through proves that we have been created. For all of the atheists and the atheist-minded people who try to say, well, how do you know we ain't always exist? How you don't know if we're going to die and come back as a dog or a cat or a roach or something? You can't have a half-truth. All this stuff has to connect. I can't accept no half-truth. I'm going to sit and listen to you, but I can't accept no half-truth. You're not going to leave me hanging like that. You're going to leave me to believe that I'm going to die and come back as a lion, or maybe I'll live as another person as another time period. You're gonna make me believe that because you want to do what you want to do. You want to smoke and drink and whatever else and you want to do, and other than serve Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You're gonna make me believe that, which is something that we can't see and we can't prove. But you don't want me to believe these things that are evident, not evidence, but that are evident. It's a no-go, my guy. No way, no how. And this is what we should be spending our time here on earth doing. These things. Using our good brain to jug with this. Not to jug in the dunya. To jug with this. If I've been able to learn it, and I barely graduated high school and then almost straight out of high school went and did 10 years in prison, while y'all was valedictorians and on all those lists and stuff with that, I don't even know what them things is called no more. Y'all went to college and then y'all had good jobs and y'all been out here working the whole time. And I was kept away from knowledge for 10 years. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brought me to this understanding. It's impossible that you cannot understand it. Alhamdulillah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put me in 10 years in prison to be an example on how easy this stuff can be accepted. Easy. Simple as that. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. So we're going to end there. I'm going to give y'all a funny story. I'm pretty sure y'all heard me tell it before. Somebody, there was this big atheist at the time of Imam Abu Hanifa, rahimahumullah. He wanted to debate Imam Abu Hanifa, and he wanted to challenge Imam Abu Hanifa on the existence of God, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Imam Abu Hanifa accepted. I'm paraphrasing the story too for all of the Wahhabis that's going to come. Like, he didn't say the story right. I'm paraphrasing. So, they set the date and time for the debate. The date and time came. Imam Abu Hanifa wasn't there. An hour passed, 2 hours, 3 hours, however many hours passed, and the whole town, the whole city came out to hear this debate. This is Imam Abu Hanifa, rahimahumullah. He was the biggest at this time. He's the big dog. He's Jay-Z. He's Tupac of his time. And then we got this other dude that was Biggie. So now we got this other guy who was an atheist, and he was big and he had a bunch of followers, and they was just gonna settle the score right then and there. Whoever won that debate, they win. They get all the hearts and minds. So right when everybody, the atheist was making a fool out of Imam Abu Hanifa, was like, man, he ain't show up. That y'all see, he's scared. He ain't want to come because he knew I was going to embarrass him. He can't prove that no God exists. That's why he ain't show up. He's a phony. He going on and on and on. He carrying on, right? Everybody started leaving. Imam Abu Hanifa pops up right when everybody leaving. And they like, oh, there he is right there. So they like, man, I mean, we leaving, but, you know, we can listen to his sorry excuse. They're like, man, why you ain't come? He's like, man, y'all will never believe what happened to me. He was like, what? I mean, you pretty much embarrassed at this point. You ain't show up. You ducked this smoke. You didn't want no work, but we going to hear you out anyway because you the good brother. He said, man, you sure y'all going to believe me? He was like, hey, yeah, I mean, just tell it to us. He said, man, I was ready for the debate. I came an hour early. I got down to the river. It was like, doggone it. I don't have a boat to get across the river. He like, so why are you telling us that? He said, what do you think happened? He like, I don't know. He said, boom, a boat popped out of nowhere. They just like, what? Yeah, for real. You're like, y'all believe it? No. Go ahead. Finish your story. We want to hear this. He said, okay, so the boat popped out of nowhere, right? I jump in the boat, but then I don't have any oars to row the boat. So I'm like, dang, I got a boat. The debate getting ready to start. I'm fixing to be late, and I ain't got. Oh, here goes some oars out of nowhere. Like now, I can row. I can row across the boat. I can row across the river. Get on to the debate. We can get down to it. Next thing you know, the current's strong and all that. He's like, man, I can't row the boat on my own. And then the atheist guy stopped him and said, so let me guess. The boat started rowing itself and drove itself across the Tigris River so that you can make it to the debate. That's what happened, right? He was like, yeah, how did you know? Did you see it? You seen what happened? He was like, nah, you sound crazy. Imam Abu Hanifa said, you don't believe me? He said, no. Should I? And he asked everybody around him, do y'all believe me? You know, nobody answered. But the atheist guy said no. They said, does this sound absurd to y'all? They said, yeah, this a little out there, Imam, brother Imam. Like, you know, where you going with it? He said, if you don't believe that story, then how do you believe that the earth, the sun, the moon, the heavens, the earth, the stars, the sky, the trees, all this stuff just popped out of nowhere? and the debate was over, and that atheist dude became a Muslim. Okay, so funny story. I don't see nobody laughing. I see some comments. Shukran, alhamdulillah, jazakumullahu khaira. Beautiful lecture, alhamdulillah. I appreciate you. Abdul Jalil, assalamu alaikum. And Nabila said, Allahu Akbar, game over. Simple as that. A kid ain't gonna believe that. Another imam said that if you get a kid and sit the kid down and you take a ball and you throw the ball, the kid gonna look at you. The kid's not gonna think the ball threw itself or the ball rolled itself. The kid gonna go get the ball and get the ball back to you and say, okay, let's throw it again, Dad. Mom, let's throw the ball again. The ball isn't throwing itself. There's something moving that ball. So if a ball can't move on its own, how can the universe move on its own? It's illogical. It can't and it won't. So that's evidence, that's proof that God, Allah, exists. So now we can all be Muslims in harmony. We solved that problem, and we can pray and celebrate the Eid today. Abdul Jalil. Assalamu alaikum. Alhamdulillah, I saw peaceful young women when I went back to college, and I wanted peace like they seem to have. Alhamdulillah. I'm trying to see who said that. So, Levon Turner, my guy. KC in the house. What's happening? Sister Nabila. Is that how you became Muslim, sister? Farouk Thomas, big dog. What's going on, man? I'm finna be down there next week, man. Sister Nabila said, yes, I learned that while in ICU, hardly able to breathe, even while on oxygen, la ilaha illallah, at the cellular level, where oxygen exchange occurs, the doctors let me know it was out of their hands. They could only hope I lived. And you hear, mashallah ta'ala, that you seen firsthand the work of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brought you very close. Hey, Sheikh Ismail, what's going on? Oh, Sheikh said perfectly said. Alhamdulillah. Subhanallah. Subhanallah. I didn't know the Sheikh had time to see me, to hear me and see me ramble. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. I wanted to read your response, Sheikh, but I didn't have your permission to read it yet. I didn't think to ask it, so I didn't read it. Farouk Thomas said, "Can you explain the interdependence part again that you stated? I missed it." That is hard to explain. My brain hurt. So rewind the video if you don't mind, brother Farouk. Rewind the video because I want to get to this other part about Iman and Sister Nabila's question. Assalamu alaikum, brother Ja'far Abdul Mubdi. And it said, Nyla said, that's so crazy because before I became Muslim, I thought that I was like, I hope I come back as a cute orange and white cat. Didn't know that. You learn some things every day. And you know what's crazy? You were a white and orange cat in my phone. Remember when I told you I changed my profile picture on my new phone? Why am I talking to you through the live and you in the kitchen? I think she's in the kitchen. But it was weird. Like she was literally a white and orange cat. Like it's some malfunction or something with my profile picture for like on my phone for her as a contact. It was a cat. I never put that there. It was there. So I guess you came back to my phone as a cat. It's weird. Let me just say, yes, they told me it was a miracle I was alive. Mashallah, mashallah, mashallah. In short, brother Farouk, I want to leave you hanging. In short, our scholars in via the Sanusi, but you know, Imam Sanusi was just the one that codified one of the ones that codified this divine philosophical knowledge. They used the aql that the world, the universe, and everything in it is contingent, meaning it's dependent on something. And they also use the reality that we can witness every single day. Reality to prove that the universe was contingent by saying that the proof is movement, stillness, color, height, so on and so forth. Attributes that these contingent substances take on. These contingent substances take on these attributes out of contingency. They need them. For example, my body, I have skin complexion. We all have melanin to some degree to be able to protect our bodies from the sun. That's and in the wintertime when it's not so much sun, my skin is lighter. I'm not producing so much melanin. In the summertime, I'm darker because I'm producing so much. I'm producing more. My body's producing more melanin. Those two things are contingencies. My body is a contingency, and the change that my body undergoes is also a contingency. So that is a strike at the atheist people that just throw darts into the sky They say, well, what about this? What about that? Well, what about this? What about that? It's not an open-ended argument. It's not the world and the universe and how all this stuff is harmoniously smoothed out for our perfect survival. It's not an accident. These are orchestrated occurrences. And those orchestrated occurrences is proof of its contingency and its not being eternal. First, you have to recognize that it's contingent. All the things in the creation. First, you have to recognize that it's contingent. And then you have to prove that this contingency has a beginning and an end in order for you to get to the next step to prove that there is a creator. Why? Because, like the book said, two contingencies cannot create one another. They're dependent on one another. So going back to that concept of tasalsul or infinite regression, that means, and I don't think I went into it. I think I went off of it, but we right here now. That means that if the body needed the melanin to exist and the melanin needed the body to exist, how could my body exist when they both depend on each other to exist? If that makes sense. Let me slow it down. If my body needs melanin to exist and my melanin needs its body, my melanin is irrelevant without my body. We can't go and take my melanin and put it on my phone. It's not going to do any good, even though, this color is technically melanin, but we don't split hairs. But, the melanin is only relevant when it's serving its quote unquote purpose on my body. And my body finds its relevance in that form of a contingency along with others. As we know, we have so many different things that our bodies are made up of in order for us to exist. So we're dependent. That's proof that we're not God and we're nothing close to God and we don't look like God at all. No way, shape, form, or fashion, no matter how good somebody said it in another video. This is all proof that we are dependent. So with that being said, now you have to prove that these contingencies have a beginning and an end. And in order to prove that, you have to recognize the changes that these contingent Sheikh, what was the word you used? You gave me earlier. Out of jam, the substances, the germs, the substances. You have to prove that these substances have a beginning, which ultimately means that they have an end. And the way that you do that is by recognizes the changes that they go through. Sheikh Abu Adam, Hafidhullah, he used an example in this part of explanation of the Sanusi. That it's like saying belief is like saying walk to the door, and it's 10 steps to walk from where you at to the door. So one foot after another, you will reach your destination. Atheists say there's no such thing as walking to the door. I just had a thought and I went from here to here and I was at the door. That's not going to cut it. That's a half argument. That's a half truth. You got to the door, but how did you get to the door? You took steps to the door. Why am I saying this? Because it sounds crazy, right? Yes. When I read it, I was like, where is he going with this? But he did that to prove that we are contingent and our thought process is contingent. It's dependent. I cannot go from here to here without put one foot in front of the other. I have to, I'm stuck there. So I went through there were some changes that took place just in the book, and the next part of the book, which is going back to the relevance of this same topic, Imam Sanusi said the proof is the stillness in the moving. This is evidence of the contingencies. I can't reach this destination. I can't be this and reach this destination without me moving. If I'm being still, that's a contingency as well. My stillness is dependent on what I'm standing on and the space that I occupy. So Imam Sanusi was saying, we have these realities that we know of, but these realities are not boss. They're not boss. And the fact that we are able to prove these different changes is proof that they have a beginning and an end. Just like in life, we're born and you live life and then you die. Same difference with the universe. And Allah Ta'ala promised us in the universe that that He's going to destroy the universe, and that the universe began, and that Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala created the universe. This is all in the Quran. And now we have science that confirms that everything was whole, and then it was broken up, and it's steadily expanding. And this is giving us time and light and the traveling distance of light and light years. All this stuff, it was in the Quran. This is all evidence of it being having a beginning, and eventually it's all going to have an end. So the fact that contingencies all have a beginning and an end, that all equals that there has to be one that is pre-eternal. And we call that Allah. That had to, before existence can't create existence. The universe can't create the universe. The world can't create the universe. And the universe can't create the world. Those are two different contingencies. There is no universe without the world. There is no world without the universe. So that was the point, that's what tasalsul is. If we believe that the world created itself, we're like, okay, well, before the world was here, and if it created itself, and the world is dependent on the space, how in the world did the world begin in the first place? If the world is dependent on space for it to exist, and the space is dependent on the world for it to exist, which one came first, chicken and egg? We're going to be going in a circle forever and ever and ever. Like they said, if the scholars say if A needed B to exist and B needed C to exist, what do you have here? You have an impossibility of existence coming into existence, because A needs B and B needs C and C needs B and B needs A. You're going to keep going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And the act of existence will never happen if non-eternal things are dependent on non-eternal things. The argument that something non-eternal created something eternal out of nothing doesn't suit logic in the least bit. So when the atheists say, oh, well, it just happened. It was just a Big Bang. No, there was something that forced it to happen. There had to be something pre-eternal, something that predated existence, something that predated time, something that predated creation, something that predated everything that we love and we live on, in order for it all to happen. This is the evidence that Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala exists. None of us believe that we just popped out of nowhere. None of us. When you ask a kid, where'd you come from? They say, my mom. And where'd your mom come from? Her mom. And where did her mom come from? Her mom. And where did her mom come from? Her mom. How many times are we going to say that? Sooner or later, something had to come from nothing. Forget the ayah. It's coming in my head. What is the ayah? Somebody remind me the ayah. Subhanallah, I can't think of the ayah. Well, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, do they, the atheist people, did they create themselves, or are they themselves created? أم خلقوا من غير خير أم خلقوا من غير شيء أم هم الخالقون. Did they create themselves out of nothing, or were they themselves created? Allah Ta'ala, in just one statement, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, one statement destroyed atheism. One statement destroyed atheism. Destroyed in one sentence. Are they themselves, did they create themselves out of nothing, or were they themselves created? Done. The argument is over. There is no argument. At that point, and at this point, you're just doing what you want to do. There is no philosophical reason that you're not a Muslim. You're just doing what you want to do. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that. Sister Tasha said, man, the brother said until the results show up. Facts. Sister Tasha said, even when you explain to someone that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala exists, we have signs all around us. If you tell them, how are you able to breathe, how are you able to walk, eat, drink, etc., they still have excuses and say, well, I can't see God. They say why he don't speak to them directly. They fail to believe no matter what. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that most of them were not going to be believers. Alhamdulillah. Okay, dinner is, hey, Sister Kanza. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. Hey, Muhammad Grooms with Grooms Property Management in Cincinnati, Ohio. What up? Love you too, love. I've been meaning to call you. Actually, how that job went. Okay, are we getting ready to close up? Because my supper is ready. Sister Nabila, tune in. So we're going to give, I hope all that was clear. If it wasn't, somebody let me know. And if I slipped on something, somebody let me know so that we can correct it, because this is belief. We can't play with belief. And last week, Sister Nabila wanted to know some of the evidences on both the evidences and argument of on both sides of the spectrum as regards to Iman fluctuating, your faith fluctuating or not fluctuating. One of Imam Malik's proofs, rahimahumullah, it's Surah 2, Ayah 143, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would not let your faith go to waste. This indicates, that statement, Imam Malik, rahimahumullah, used as evidence of actions being connected to Iman. Because at one point in time, the Muslims used to pray towards Jerusalem, and then that changed. And the Sahaba was worried that since the direction of prayer changed, that none of their worship was going to count. If your worship don't count, you don't have no faith. You don't have no worship. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala used the word Iman in reference to that action. His deduction was that sometimes you do a lot of action, sometimes you do not a lot of action. Sometimes your actions fluctuate. Not many people are like very, very, very consistent, with the actions or whatnot. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tied actions and faith together in this particular statement. So Imam Malik used that as one of the proofs that Iman fluctuates. And then there's some other statements that some Sahaba said. They used to say they want to go make dhikr together and say, let's go increase our faith. They used to say that. But it is on record that Imam Malik never used to say that faith decreases, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, his messenger, they didn't infer that. They just said that it increases. But we know, anything that increases decreases. But Imam Malik, he didn't say it. It was implied, but he didn't say it because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala didn't say it. And then we have, on the other hand, Imam Abu Hanifa, rahimahullah. And he also used an ayah of the Quran. Okay, so he used an ayah of the Quran. It is so they listed chapter 5, 83, Surah Al-Ma'idah, 83 through 85. And I'm just going to read so we can close this up. I'm just going to read the part that's relevant. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, Allah will reward them for what they say, with gardens with rivers flowing under them, remaining in them timelessly forever. That is the recompense of all good doers. So Allah's not Allah, Imam Abu Hanifa's viewpoint, this was one of his proofs that faith is not connected to actions, was that in here, Allah, in this ayah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that they will be rewarded for what they say. It didn't say what they do. And it didn't say what they say and what they do. The ayah didn't say it. Even though the ayah implied some actions above, like ayah 3 implies some actions. But it said that from what they say. So his logic was, you have to say the words of faith, and you Muslim from saying it. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala promised that you're going to be given Jannah from what you say. So his logic was, if you say it, you Muslim, you say the Shahadatain, you Muslim, khalas, it's done. That's your faith. And then in another department is your actions. That was his logic, if that makes sense. And it goes a little bit deeper, but I wanted to bring you two of the proofs from both sides. Sister Nabila, is that clear? Okay, she gets sent heart, so I guess it's clear. Okay, I love y'all. For the sake of Allah, we're gonna eat and make maghrib. We just are late. We all gotta make maghrib. I love y'all. For the sake of Allah, inshallah ta'ala, we will be back Friday with Friday night fiqh. I think part 4 or 5. I forget which part we on. I have to look. If we're still in the area of purification. So tune in Friday, inshallah ta'ala, and we're going to be going over the rules and regulations of purification, so that not many people are, covering this type of material. This is the heaviest stuff to cover. And mind y'all, this is not coming from me. I'm just saying, doing my best to say what has been said. That these are the mandatory aspects of being a believer. Having the correct, and like the fiqh said, having the correct iman, tasheehu imanihi. You have to correct your iman, and then you have to do the sound actions, deeds of worship. Can't have it no other kind of way. So we've decided to focus on Dina. It's time to eat food. Okay. Okay. All right, Medina. All right. So, well, the baby done spoke. The boss baby, she spoke. We gotta go. I love y'all for the sake of Allah. May He say, Ameen. Wa iyyakum. I love y'all for the sake of Allah. Kulli qawli hadha wa astaghfirullah wa la ilaha illallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.